So today we're going to talk about plant names, the difference between common names and scientific names, and what you can find out about a plant through them. So I'm going to start off with just a straightforward, easy plant. So this is the Himalayan fairy grass here. That's its common name. Its scientific name is Miscanthus nepalensis. Now, if you can see here in the scientific name, that's always written in italics rather than ordinary script, just to show you that that is the scientific name, and it's in Latin, so it's a foreign language, so it should be italicized. The first part of the name is the genus, Miscanthus. That tells you the broad group of plants. The genus always has a capital letter at the beginning. And then the second name is called the species epithet, so that describes this plant. This is the one from Nepal, Nepalensis. So that's quite straightforward, and a lot of the plants in our garden will just have a genus and a species epithet to tell you what they are. But it's good to have that scientific name because there are other common names for it. I've used the Himalayan fairy grass, but I also know it's called the Nepalese silvergrass, and probably in other countries there are other common names for it. But it's only got one scientific name worldwide, and the Latin that it's used for it is like horticultural Esperanto. Everyone understands it. So that's quite a simple one. So moving on, now I've got the Christmas rose, which you probably all know and love here. So common name, we call it the Christmas rose, but as we know, it's not really part of the rose family. Its scientific name is Helleborus niger. So it's a hellebore, part of that group of plants. But it's got another name now. It's called Christmas Carol. That's not written in italics, and it's in inverted commas, and it sounds much more British in English, doesn't it? So that means the plant breeders have taken the natural species and they've crossed all the good varieties of it they can find, and they've produced what they call a cultivated variety, or a cultivar. This is called Christmas Carol, and if I just show you the plant itself, I can tell you how it's different from the normal species. So Christmas Carol holds its flowers much higher than the normal one. You know, in a normal Christmas rose, the flowers are quite low here, but in Christmas Carol, they grow much taller and show themselves off much more nicely. And I also think it flowers a little bit earlier than the ordinary one. So it's a sort of improved version of it. So that's a cultivar. So now moving on now, this is Arum italicum. Get a bigger name for you so you can see. This is this lovely foliage plant that we grow in our gardens. Its common name is the Italian Arum. Its scientific name is Arum italicum, subspecies italicum. So quite naturally in the wild, the native plants will vary a little bit from place to place. And sometimes, particularly if they're isolated in a geographical area, they'll start to develop new characteristics. For example, in this one, it's got this beautiful deep mottling, much more strongly pronounced. And so they call this a subspecies of the main one. But this is not developed by man, this is all quite natural. And you will see that from time to time, that something is a subspecies of the main species. Now, another little variation that we find sometimes is that a plant is called a variety, and this is a little bit the same as the subspecies, but it's not quite as defined, and it's not brought about by being geographically isolated. It's just something that pops up in this particular wild plant. An example here I've got is this lovely evergreen. The common name is the fernleaf clematis, but we know it as Clematis serosa, and the var there stands for variety, and this is the Balearica. And can you see it's got beautiful ferny-like leaves on it like this. So again, this is just a wild native species, but it just has this rather pretty characteristic, and the typical nodding bells that we see on these winter flowering clematis. So again, a completely native species. But you can also select from the native species. So this is another variety of clematis. This is Clematis Cerosa variety purpurescens, so slightly more purpley in its flowers, but it's also a cultivar, so you can sort of add bits to the name. So this one has been selected by man to produce, you know, some much deeper purple. This one is the most amazing deep purple. If I can just show you the flower, it's really extraordinary. And it's best to grow this where you can kind of look up into it. But it's called Lansdowne Gem. It's this deep, deep purple colour. So you can sort of start to pile on the different bits of the name, the more things that sort of define it. So another example I've got here, this one is the lovely winter flowering honeysuckle. It's just now coming into bud. Now this has got, its common name is the purpose honeysuckle. Its scientific name's got a cross in the middle. Now this means that it's a hybrid. So two different species were crossed together to produce this new species that was sort of better than either of its parents. And then you see the cross in the middle like that, it means it's a hybrid plant. And they thought of a new species name for it. And I think that's not because it's purple in any way, like the purpurescens name we saw just now. I think because its common name has a capital P at the beginning, I think that was the surname of the person who made that cross. So that's the cross in the middle. It's a hybrid. Now my last example is one of where the names had to change. And sometimes, you know, as the scientists get to work on all these different plants and look at their heritage, they sometimes realise that the first name they gave it was wrong. And this is quite a well-known example of this. This is a beautiful autumn flowering corm. It used to be called Schizostylus coccinea. But the more they looked at it, the more they realised that it should have actually been another genus, Hesperantha, which was another set of nice corms, mainly from Africa. This was the only species in its genus, and it just didn't fit. So they've now changed its name to Hesperantha coccinea. You can still see it in older texts described as this, and that's not wrong because it's the same plant, but it's not its current name, so it'll be called its synonym. So I hope that's helped you a little bit understand why plants have the names they do in the garden, but it's a fascinating topic and you can learn an awful lot by studying their scientific names.